Hi, welcome to Balance Point Homestead here in the beautiful Mohawk Valley. Our place is a passive active solar home which we built in 2002 in an effort to show ourselves and anybody else who's interested in listening that passive definitely works here in the Northeast, as does photovoltaic and thermal collectors. We have a small photovoltaic array of 1 kilowatt, and in addition to which we have a 1 kilowatt windmill which produces all of our electricity. We have no connection with the grid. We're not in the buyback program, and we never intended to be. We also have thermal collectors that provide all of our domestic hot water during the summer months, and most of it during the winter months. We're actually right at this moment in the process of converting over to all electric hot water, which is almost unheard of in the solar world. And we're doing that by using the dump load from our windmill to provide the additional thermal needs for our electric.
Elaborate that. What do you mean by dump load?
Well, the windmill many months of the year produces more electricity than we can use. So between the photovoltaics and the wind, we have an absurd amount of power for 2 people to use, and so we've decided to take the excess wind power, called a dump load, and put it in our thermal storage tank for our domestic hot water, and that's in process. Our installers were here earlier this week working for a full day, and they'll be back in 2 weeks and they'll finish the job, and we hopefully will say goodbye to the propane delivery person.
Gotcha. So no fossil fuels at that point?
Practically zero. We still have a combination cook range which we can cook with either wood or petroleum. We have chosen, because of the limited amount of fossil fuel involved and our inherent laziness, to basically use the propane, but we could switch to wood without any particular discomfort.
Gotcha. So when the house was built, PV was installed at that time? Or?
Yes, we started with a photovoltaic array that had 4 times 120, about 500 watts of generating capacity, and we lived that way for several months. We realized pretty early on that that was inadequate for our needs, and so we added an additional 4 120 watt panels, and that brought us up to almost a kilowatt of generating capacity, which was perfect. We lived that way for 3 years, being very frugal with our electrical demands during the months of November and December, when, as you know, the sun is hiding out on us. And that's why we ended up, after 3 years, installing the windmill. The windmill is a Berge 1 kilowatt. It has an 8.5 foot swept area. It's on a tower 105 foot up in the air, and so far, after over a year of operation, it's been perfect. This house was designed and built by average folks who have studied renewables a little bit, but we're not experts, we're not engineers, we've never been in the construction field. So the house was designed and built and operated by people who are basically novice, and it tells us that anybody can live in and understand and enjoy the benefits of renewable energy and solar energy. It's we think in that context it's a little bit of a departure from a lot of folks who are sort of out in the lead of renewable energy and understand a lot more about the technology than we do. We're just average folks who are interested in using as few petroleum distillates as possible, and this house is a good example of that, we think. Not dissimilar from homes that are being constructed around today, with the exception that because we were contracting the home ourselves and extremely concerned with energy efficiency and energy usage, we made sure that the folks who were here actually building for us, we did not build it ourselves, But the builders were extremely careful in the installation of insulation, that there were no gaps in the walls, and we required that some additional insulation be installed to provide us with R values that reflected the winters out here and the summers out here. We have no air conditioner, so we get our cooling from the passive solar design as well as our heating. We have a small wood stove which sits right beside me here. We burn one full cord of firewood every winter. We've done that for 3 winters, so we think that's a pretty good assessment of what our actual use is. So we have very, very minimal heat needs, and we have a very, very comfortable house. We never go below 65 or 66 in the winter, and generally keep it around 70 degrees depending on what our activities are for the particular day, and find it just the easiest house to live in. We've had an engineering study done, and that resulted in information that we get approximately 50% of our ambient heat gain in the wintertime. The secret to passive solar is to have your house face south. It is not rocket science. This particular house faces a little bit east of south. Most of our windows face south. There are no windows on the north side of the building, and the house is insulated on 6 sides. Underneath, on top, and the 4 vertical sides, to make sure that there's no heat leakage that we don't actually control. We also have a significant amount of mass in the floor, which allows the sun to warm that mass up and re-radiate it during the evening. So passive solar requires, in our opinion, proper orientation, proper insulation, and certainly additional insulation as compared to the average tract home, which they think that you're going to overcome all of your problems with a boiler or a hot air furnace. They work together very nicely, particularly during the fall months when the solar, the heaviest percentage of our renewable energy is generated by the solar panels. That would be true 9 or 10 months of the year at least. During the late fall, during November and December, the sun is closest to the horizon, is least capable of generating energy for us. So during those months, many times it's cloudy and windy. And the wind comes up, the wind has a penchant for blowing overnight when the sun is seldom seen. And we often wake up in the morning and find our batteries fully charged, and it's a very comfortable feeling.
Is there a monitoring system that you have?
Yes, over on the wall we have a trimetric meter which tells us the status of our battery charge. It tells us how much energy is coming in or going out for usage at any point in time, and tells us the voltage of our machine. We are right in the process of installing a separate meter which will monitor the wind and solar separately, as well as the dump load from the wind going into our domestic hot water. So we'll be fraught with information here during the next couple of weeks, and it's some of it is very important. You always want to keep track of your battery status and not let your batteries go below 60% of charge, because these lead acid batteries will be damaged if you let them go too low. But the other part of it is that it's not necessary to the operation of the system for you to know a lot of the information data that come at you through these meters. Our basic. That's allowed us to not be as anal about having the computers on. Sarah has a home office here. She has 2 computers. During the winter months, we tend to shut them off when they're actually not in use. Whereas during the summer months, they're on pretty much during the business day, continuously. But there's never been a real threat to our battery system due to low voltage since we've had the windmill in. Prior to our installation of the windmill, we occasionally used our gas backup generator. We have not used that in over a year and don't intend to use it. I think we've put that in our past. Well, we think that the small wind systems like we have are a very viable alternative for the individual homeowner or two. Our installer told us last night that He had just sold 2 windmills to relatives across the street from one another, small ones like ours. We appreciate the wind farm systems as a bona fide alternative to nuclear and coal, but anything that big can be off-putting to some folks. The real issue here that we're dealing with, of course, is demand reduction rather than power production. People have got to begin to learn that they can have a happy, successful home life without a 52-inch plasma TV, and some of the, we don't necessarily need electric toothbrushes. Here in our house, and I want to emphasize this point, we have most of the electrical appliances that the average homestead has. They are just more efficient, and in some cases smaller. We have a 10 cubic foot super efficient refrigerator. We have an 8 cubic foot super efficient freezer. Our computers are Energy Star flat plate collectors, flat plate screens, which don't draw a lot of electricity. All of our lighting is low wattage fluorescence. So we've taken time to sort out the wheat from the chaff as far as appliances are concerned, and feel we've done quite well in terms of sizing our appliances appropriately. We have a full-size stereo system. We also have a television, which we don't listen to the network. We watch videos on our television, so it only has occasional use. It's not on 24/7. We have a deep well electric pump, just as all country homes do, which runs 24 volts and pumps very slowly and has a very small power demand. So by looking at the appliance situation carefully and searching in the right corners, you can easily come up with the proper configuration for a comfortable lifestyle. The purpose of the solar tour on October 7th is to allow folks to come and look at homes that are up and running with using renewable energy, and any installer worth her or his salt will direct you to homes that they've installed throughout New York State, throughout the country for that matter. And you should take advantage, anyone should take advantage of an opportunity to go visit these homes to see whether renewables are a possibility for you, whether you wish to be grid tied or not, and exactly what the scenario is, because so much of what's in the popular media today is either inaccurate or prejudiced and just doesn't make any sense. So go see for yourselves what's available out here.